Jokic.
That's one.
Okay. Embiid. Oh, look,
No.
you did a thumbs up and you
Oh
got a
my
heart.
God.
I mean, a
Oh,
little. Do
all right.
this. Look what happens when you do this.
Oh,
No,
how about
yeah,
that?
there you
All right.
go.
Welcome to Oddball. I'm Amin Elhassan. Not quite in Vegas yet. And that over there in New York City is Charlotte Wilder. What's up, Charlotte?
How you doing, Amin?
I
How I
like how you
wave?
waved, but you didn't say anything. Like, they'll get it.
Listen, my brain is on a lag. You know how sometimes we can't get the zooms to be. Yeah, that's everything I say is going to be like 10 seconds after I think it today.
We had a busy night last night in the NBA of all the losers. That's right. You guys aren't going to Vegas. You have to play meaningless games, regular season games. Remember, we used to do
Yeah.
those? Ha! Anyways, so
Shocking.
the losers were playing last night. And among the losers that were playing last night was the Dallas Mavericks playing against the Utah Jazz in a game that Jazz head coach Will Hardy called, and I quote, a masterpiece of dog shit. That's right, as the Mavs won by 50 points, 147-97. But I know what you're thinking. I mean, this is a score-only game. Why are we talking about this? Because Luka Doncic did something that only three other individuals have ever done before, which is he had a triple-double by halftime, Charlotte. By
It's
halftime.
insane. Yeah. Oh God. I mean, my favorite thing there was an ESPN article obviously talking about how Luka had a triple double by the half, and it said the second thing that it said after saying that it's his 60th career triple double, and he moved past Larry Bird and to ninth place overall in the triple double list. Blah blah blah. Pretty amazing, said Doncic, who sported a thin headband for the first time only days after becoming a first-time father, and it's like, what? Like the fact that is the thing that they put, that's incredible. It's like, oh, okay, this is the first time he's ever worn a thin headband. Do you think it is something with him being a dad or the triple double? It's so good. It's so good.
Not to be outdone, Nikola Jokic also had a triple double. I know there are a bunch of people in Denver say, we're the defending champs. You guys never talk about us. It's not fair. You made a big deal about Tyrese Halliburton's first triple double. Well, Jokic said one every other night. Okay. Yes, he had his 114th triple double. He's fifth on the all-time list. Also, you lost to the Clippers despite having all your players. This is why I love the NBA. The Nuggets can travel to LA and not have Jokic and not have Murray and not have Gordon and go out and beat the Clippers. And then like 10 days later, they can travel to LA, have all their guys, all their championship guys, and lose in a very embarrassing cough it up in the fourth quarter fashion. This is the unpredictability of basketball that I truly enjoy. But Charlotte, let me ask you, do you think we gloss over Jokic triple doubles because we just kind of expect them now?
Well, yeah, but I think that's what happens with anyone who's unbelievably good at what they do. They set their own standards, and you come to expect a certain level of greatness from them. And maybe we should be more appreciative. Maybe, it's like, do we actually appreciate LeBron enough? I feel like there's a headline of every other day because what they're doing is so unbelievable. But if you become used to it because that's what they do, then that becomes the expectation. So we could say it every time, but everyone would be like, okay, yeah, obviously, why are you saying it? You know what I mean?
That's why I always half-ass everything I do, including this show. That way, when I put together a really great show,
me feel so good. Yeah.
Everyone's like, "Oh my God, what a great show!" And I'm like, "That's right, because I actually tried today." Hey, by the way,
cool.
Embiid scored
I'm
50.
gonna head out.
Nobody cares.
Cool.
All right, Charlotte. So this is a really weird situation that's not typical in the NBA calendar, other than a couple of like holiday games like Christmas and MLK Day or whatever. But we taped this show. This show is being aired. While it's being aired, the first semifinal is going on right now in Vegas. That's right. I'm not actually in Vegas yet. I'll be there in a couple hours in the past. Time travel, all that stuff. But the big news beyond, hey, this is our first IST ever, is that the Lakers were informed apparently they're not allowed to wear their Black City Edition jerseys because it clashes with the color palette of the court in Vegas. To which I say, then why did you let them have black jerseys to begin with? What are we doing?
Weren't the black jersey, wasn't this a whole part of the rollout with the courts too?
Yes.
Wasn't that?
The City Edition jerseys go with the stupid in-season tournament courts. And so they designed an in-season tournament court in Vegas that unfortunately doesn't go with one of the City Edition jerseys. It is mind-boggling. This is the part where when I tell people when you watch on TV, it looks like people just got together and played a basketball game, but it is an incredibly orchestrated, delicate dance. Every detail is planned. What happens in the timeouts, what sounds you hear, what jerseys this team is wearing, what warm-ups they're wearing, what the ball kid, like everything, the coaches, all of it. None of it is really left to chance. And so when you see something like this, oops, oh, by the way, you can't wear the thing that we made a big deal that you got to wear with. This is what it looks like when it isn't a carefully orchestrated dance. This is what it looks like when you're doing it off the seat of your pants.
So, first of all, I feel like they sort of work because it's the first one. Second of all, I have come to actually like the courts. I know that sometimes it looks like players are falling off a cliff, but I think it was I miss them. There were regular games on last night, and I was like, I miss the weird green screen looking courts. But I also feel like, does this mean that they really weren't expecting the Lakers to make it to Vegas, or they just didn't even think about this?
They didn't think about it. They just half-assed something, and then yesterday probably someone saw like the court and saw like black jerseys on the court and said, I don't like the way this looks. Which, again, if you weren't doing this half-assed, maybe you would have got it right. But then again, when they get it right next year, everyone's going to be like, oh my God, how amazing was this? And I see where you're at, Adam Silver. Me and you, simpatico, baby.
So, according to ESPN's Dave McMenamin, when one of the Lakers players was informed that they wouldn't be able to wear black on Thursday, he said, "That's ass," which is a great quote. That's really good. I also like that it was an anonymous source. It wasn't like this player said it. It was like one player said, "That's ass."
Whenever that happens, I always like to do something like, "Whoa, Gabe Vincent said that's ass." Wow, that's crazy. Max Christie said that off the record. Got it. No, it's just right. It is ass though. Like, to be real, it is ass because we didn't make these rules, right? If I'm the team, I was doing what you guys told us to do. Like, oh, we gotta have this, okay, and then we gotta wear these whenever. Okay, all right, cool, whatever. And by the way, those jerseys are ugly as hell. Stupid ass Los Angeles on a fucking triangle. What the hell is that?
I don't really care that much because I'm like, well, those are. I didn't love them to begin with, but that's a whole that's a whole part of the whole thing.
I was watching, what game was I watching last night? And I was watching Warriors Blazers, and the Warriors wore white and the Blazers wore black, and it was at Golden State. And it blew my mind. I'm like, oh my God, this is what basketball used to look like. Home whites, but revisiting colors. That's it. We don't have to overcomplicate. This is what happens when you overcomplicate. Like, yeah, I get it. We're trying to sell more and more merch. Guys, sometimes less is more. Trust me on this one.
Whenever I see like a classic, the Celtics wearing their classic uniforms, and it's like, it's a balm for my soul. It's just so nice.
Was that BOMB or BALM?
BALM, like a salve, which also has a silent L.
Salve. That it does.
SALVE. Salve.
Yeah.
I always thought it was solve, but it's not.
Yeah, no. I'm glad you solved that.
Learned that recently. Thanks.
Hey, Charlotte, you got to do something really cool in New York City yesterday and met with a legend. Tell us stories next about you and Allen Iverson at a DraftKings event. All right, Charlotte Wilder, last night at a DraftKings event for an exclusive set of clientele, you moderated, I guess it wasn't even a panel, it was just one-on-one, you and Allen Iverson, right?
And Dom Chambroni, who is the surgeon who makes custom sneakers for everyone like Drake, Justin Bieber. He made those wing shoes. He also made Odell Beckham Jr.'s cleats for the Super Bowl in 2021, which were $200,000 because they had real diamonds on them. This guy, he's more of it's like sculptures more than shoes. And it was a partnership with Reebok, Allen Iverson, the surgeon, and DraftKings to put out these shoes they call the Day One, based on the original The Question shoes that Allen Iverson had. And so I was talking to both of them about these shoes, and my favorite moment, first of all, Allen Iverson was lovely. He also told me I'm funny, so now he's officially my favorite player ever. That's all that I really took away from the event. But I said, you obviously have done so much for basketball, for the culture of basketball, for fans and players, and how have you seen that evolve in the past 10 to 15 years? And instead of answering the question, well, I guess he did answer the question, but into the mic he just went, basketball is love, basketball is life, basketball is family. And just sort of kept listing the things that basketball is, and felt and meant it so deeply. Like he was almost emotional saying it, and it was just such a beautiful answer in a way that could have just sounded like platitudes, but also this guy believes it because it's who he is, and it's what he loves, and it's what he cares about, that there's no way to even answer that question. And so he just said what it is, and I thought that was really cool, actually.
Yeah, it is cool. When I think about Allen Iverson, everything that he was vilified for has become super mainstream, right? There's a point in time, Charlotte, and for the younger viewers, this might blow your mind. There's a point in time where the concept of having a visible tattoo was, oh, heaven forbid, how will we sell to the sponsors? And now you go into big multi-million-dollar meetings, and the dude leading the meeting has a neck tattoo, right?
Yeah.
Allen Iverson was villainized and vilified for a lot of these things, and now they're all so mainstream we hardly bat an eye at the concept of seeing people do these things, whatever. And I always say, there's a certain class of human being. I won't even say class of player, class of human being, where I have great admiration because they have every right to be bitter and to hate everything. Oh, now it's cool, and it's the opposite. So I always say this about Grant Hill. Grant Hill was supposed to be the best player in the world. He was supposed to be the heir apparent to Michael Jordan. He was well on his way. And then he had a bunch of injuries, much of which was due to mismanagement by team medical personnel. He also almost died with a staph infection, with a MRSA infection, in Orlando. And so when Grant Hill came back, all I could think of is and he was playing for us in Phoenix, all I could think of, if I was supposed to be the best player ever, and now I'm just a role player, who hits corner threes and plays hard defense, I would be so bitter. I had every right to be bitter because it was taken from me, not because I ate the wrong things, not because I didn't work out, not because I was out partying. I did everything right, and they took that from me. And so why should I be a nice guy or a pleasant guy? Yet he is. He's amazing. And Allen Iverson's the same way. Allen Iverson was public enemy number one. They made the dress code because of him. They made all of these things because of him. And fast forward, not only is all the things that he does that's mainstream now, but also all of these players who are I grew up, Allen Iverson was my favorite player, and you have a picture of Kristaps Porzingis with cornrows and a headband. That's not an accident, ladies and gentlemen. That's Allen Iverson, and he should be you guys are what you are because of me, and that's some BS. And instead, he's always gracious, he's always humble, he's always spreading a message of love and appreciation for the game, and most importantly, unlike many other retired players, he always gives props to the current crop of players. I remember my buddy Kerry Chow interviewed him, Shaq, and Yao at the Hall of Fame. And the question came up, how much would you average if you played in today's game? And Iverson took a second, and he was like, I don't know, maybe the same, maybe a little less. And Shaq lost his mind. Like, what are you talking about, Allen Iverson? You be averaging 50. Da, da, da. And Iverson was like, are you kidding? Everyone is like 6'9", and they move as quick as I do. It's like, the game is so hard now. And that's something you never hear from retired players. So I'm that story. I'm glad you told that story because it continues to reinforce this idea that this dude is super humble and appreciative to the game of basketball. And I think we need to celebrate him every opportunity we get.
Totally. And beyond that, I mean, he said last night how grateful he was to the game. He said, I'm so grateful to everyone who helped me get here. I'm grateful to the people I played with, to my family, to my friends, to the league. Like the league now makes so much money off of what he pioneered. They lean in with the marketing. He really does not. Yeah, exactly. Like all of it. He was that, and he was punished for it publicly and privately, and then now to see that he doesn't have that bitterness. He's just like, this is amazing. I love this. I love what everybody's doing. And I think that shows a real sense of strength too. He's always known who he is. He clearly still knows who he is. He's confident in that in a way that it doesn't seem like he needs validation. And if you don't need validation in that way, you're probably going to be a happier person. I don't know. It was really cool, though. And he was lovely. And I'll just say once again, he told me it was funny. So
the other thing is those shoes, those first sneakers that he had, the signature sneakers that came out his rookie year. That was the big shoe when I was in high school. I wanted that shoe badly. I couldn't get it. So years later, I had a buddy who worked at Reebok, and he got me a pair of those shoes. And I you know, it's funny. I never wear them. I just have them in a box. I've worn them on air when I was on the jump. Yeah. But then it's like, as soon as we were done, I would take them off and put them right back in the box. Yeah. So that's dope.
They're very cool.
No, it's dope that they had that event. Shout out to DraftKings. Shout out to everybody who put that together. All right. Coming up. Who's lying?
Okay, I mean, it's time for my favorite game. Another rousing rendition of Who's Lying. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. We're going to start with Rasheed Wallace, who explained why he would take 7 NBA titles over $300 million. Why are you laughing already?
Because Rasheed Wallace's famous quote is "Ball don't lie." So Ball don't lie, but we'll see if Sheed will. See how I did
What
that?
Will he? Okay, so he said, I can't tell you everything that was said in this conversation with Chauncey Billups. I'm paraphrasing here. But short story, no. For me, I got to get that ring. The bread is going to come with the ring. The bread's going to come with the ring long term. Now, it might not amount to as much. So let's say, as you mentioned, for example, the $300 million contract, right? Okay, I might not be able to make $300 million in that 7, 8, 9 years or however long that contract is again, but I'm immortalized. Is he lying?
I'll never call Rasheed Wallace a liar. He's one of the most honest people that I know. But I will say Rasheed is speaking from a place of extreme privilege, right? Extreme privilege. Because Rasheed made over $150 million in his career. So he's not talking about someone who's broke or someone who's on minimum. Hey, here's $300 million or here's a ring. He's talking as someone who's been pretty wealthy. But then the other part of it is he also won a ring. So he's not talking as someone who's like, I've never won one of those things. I give up all of my money for just one ring. Like, he's got both. So there's a level of privilege there that I believe in when he says that, but he can say that because he knows, like, okay, I wouldn't trade in my ring for another $300 million because I'm already got $150 million in the bank.
150? Yeah, right.
Right.
No,
and
I get it.
So there's an element there that I don't know if that applies to everybody. Like, for instance, if I went to Ryan Arcidiacono, who plays for the Knicks, and said $300 million or a ring, he's taking $300 million, right? If I go to, hell, even someone like Mike Penberthy, who played on the Lakers in the early 2000s, won a ring, you've never even heard of him. Clearly, that ring hasn't done much for him, right? Yeah. Rasheed Wallace is a superstar, or was a superstar when he played, so the ring, the validation, and the money that comes with it applies to him in a way that it doesn't really apply to everybody.
So he's not lying, but some context was maybe missing.
Sure.
Also, did you see what Ryan Arcidiacono tweeted the other day? Probably not, because that's
No.
something nobody has ever said yes to. But he did say, he said, was walking through Greenwich with Jalen Brunson, and someone recognized me and didn't recognize him. This is the biggest day of my life. That's never happened before. He is one of my favorite bench guys because he is always so excited. Like every time someone on the Knicks does something good in any game, he's up there and he's like, "Oh!" And I really appreciate that.
He's back in college,
being excited.
He's back in college.
He's got his buddies. He
Yeah.
matters. Shout out to Ryan. Okay. Dwyane Wade names Ray Allen and Rip Hamilton as the toughest players he had to guard. Quote, "I always go with guys like Ray Allen and Rip. They moved. I hated that. I hated guarding those dudes, especially Rip, because he had them nails too."
So, a couple of things here. He's telling a very specific truth, right?
Okay.
The hardest players that I had to guard. Like, I didn't have to guard Shaq. I didn't have to guard LeBron, right? So I think he's telling the truth in that regard. He did have to guard Kobe, though. But I understand what he's saying. I think when you have a player who catches the ball from a stationary position and then does stuff, it's hard. You got to be quick. You got to anticipate. You got to do all these things. But as a mental exercise, it's less strenuous than the guy who's moving around without the ball. The guy who's moving around without the ball, you have to worry about where he is at all times and worry about where the ball is and worry about all these screens and things like that. It's a nonstop kind of mental exercise along with the physical cardio of running. Rip Hamilton, Ray Allen, these are some of the best conditioned players ever. And they took pride in the fact that we're going to run miles today. Miles. We're doing miles of running around these screens. Also, Rip Hamilton apparently grew his nails out extra long. And when we're stationary waiting for the play to start, he would grab your arm and dig his nails into your arm. Yes.
That's gross.
That's gross
painful and weird,
and crazy.
But it's also gross.
Yeah. It's also like an infectious disease control violation.
So
yes.
that's what he meant by, okay, so literally he had nails.
He's like, the guy had nails. I'd rather just guard Kobe. I'd rather just have Kobe
I agree.
dribble between his legs and stuff.
I would rather guard one of the greatest players of all time than somebody who had long nails. That's gross. Okay. Moving on. Was Dirk Nowitzki lying when he said he doubted Luka's ability to become a superstar? He went on Meadowlark Media's All the Smoke podcast, and he said, "The end of my career wasn't pretty. We were struggling. There was some talk of tanking. We needed a little spark plug to change things. I didn't think it was going to be this kid." He's talking about Doncic. When he walked in the first time, he looked like a big boy. But I'm like, I'm not sure this is going to work. Is he quick enough? Is he athletic enough to go by guys like he is in Europe? So there were plenty of doubts there from everybody on the team. And now Dirk and Luka overlapped in one season, 2018 to 2019.
There's a difference between, I don't know if he's going to be a superstar, and I don't think he's going to be good, right?
Right.
What Dirk is espousing there was a common concern from people. Like, oh, he's doing all this stuff in Europe, but can you get away with that here? Right, given that the athleticism is greater in the NBA. So that's not the first time I've ever heard someone say that. Obviously, now it sounds really foolish. The other thing that's funny is he talks about, guys try to get into him and get physical with them in practice, try to push him, see where his limits are. And I always laugh that NBA players, when European players come over, they say, "Oh, we're going to show them how physical it is here." The international game is a million times more physical than the NBA game. Once upon a time, it was the opposite, right? In the 90s and the 2000s, we were the physical league. There was a lot of holding and grabbing and shoving and chicken winging and all these things. And over there, they played this kind of fluid game. But over time, as we've legislated all of the shenanigans out of our game, they still do those things, not to the extent that we did in the 2000s, but a great deal more than here. So you can't physically intimidate these guys anymore. You could still be more explosive and faster and all those things, but the idea that, we're going to rough them up, that ain't going to move them, right? So is Dirk lying? I'm going to say no, he's not lying, but I'm going to say he clearly was very poorly misinformed. The kid was the MVP of the EuroLeague at 18. 18.
You know what today's episode of Who's Lying is? It's not who's lying, it's who was just wrong.
Yeah, they were wrong. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, pretty much.
They were just wrong. Everyone was just wrong, and that's fine. I'm wrong all the time, everybody. All right. Well,
I've seen it.
I can't wait. Okay. Goodbye.
That's it for us on Oddball.